What up, y'all? My name is Stanley, and welcome to this I need to shut the door moment. What's up, y'all? My name is Stanley, and welcome to this really quick video I wanted to make about the S1II. A few days ago, I got to test it out in a very practical way. Shout out to my boy Chris for giving me that opportunity, but Chris called me out to go do some photos for an event. If you know me, I just can't help myself, so I took some video as well, but I just essentially wanted to break down photos and videos, what worked, what I felt like could have been a little bit better, just wrap it up at the end there. Now, for the entire event, I used the S1II with the 24 to 62.8, no filters or anything on there, just like a lens hood on there. My shutter speed was low pretty much the entire time because it was a pretty low light situation, and my ISO was set to auto the entire time, but maxed out at 6400 because, you know, didn't want to risk it with noise reduction. If you have any questions following anything you hear today, again, just feel free to comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, let's talk photos. There was always a look or like a crispiness that I attributed to high megapixel cameras, but I started to find in my S1II when I was out at car shows and such that kind of really confused me and started having me thinking, like, is this a high megapixel thing, or is this just a resolution thing, or what is this crispiness that I'm finding in my images? Now, don't get me wrong, high megapixels are still worth it when you need to zoom into a shoelace and to be able to see how clear it is, or like if I was printing anything, I'd still want to have the most megapixels possible. But social media to me is the greatest equalizer. It doesn't matter what camera you shoot on. Most people on my Instagram, unless you look for my hashtags, cannot tell if I'm shooting on my Leica Q3, my Lumix S1II, or my R5 Mark II, or whatever I'm using that day. You just can't tell. That being said, the S1II gave me more than enough crispiness to the point where it's just kind of verifying what I said in the last video. I'm finding it to be my daily user more and more. I'm trusting it more and more. And if this thing had a Sony label slapped onto the top of it, I'm pretty sure I'd call this the greatest camera of all time. Next, I want to talk about dynamic range. Now, when I'm talking about dynamic range, what I'm talking about is how much information was retained in the shadows. So when I brought it back up, you were still able to see the color, the detail, and everything that was just a little bit darker, and it didn't get like noisy or anything like that. You see with my Canon R5 Mark II, when I raise the shadows, it starts to like color start to show up in there that sometimes noise reduction cannot get rid of. The S1II behaved just like my Leica, like it retained all the data in there and it gave me a lot of confidence. I'll show you some side-by-sides here with some raws, but what you see and what I know I'm able to push and post, it blows my mind, gave me the results I was looking for, and I was very happy with the dynamic range performance of this camera. Next, autofocus. This was the first time I was able to really tell the difference between my R5 and the S1II. If my R5 was like a 9 out of 10 when it came to autofocus and really didn't miss like that, the Lumix I would say was almost like a 7 out of 10. I missed a few shots here and there. In the end of the day, do I wish I had the R5 versus the S1II? No, not really. To me, it still comes down to this look and just color retention, and I don't know if me even switching down to an R6 would do the job. I'm not sure, but this camera has instilled so much confidence with me to the point where I know I can take the S1 into a darker situation and I'll be able to bring that detail back, no problem. All right, let's go ahead and talk about video. So I didn't shoot in open gate at all. I actually shot in, I think it's called DCI or 17:9, 422, 10-bit, RE-Log C3, everything did well. There was one point which I forgot I could switch into open gate because I did put an anamorphic lens on, but you know, whatever. I wasn't mad about it because I realized I should probably utilize my custom modes more. That being said, the video, man, I was shooting with two other shooters, great people that I got to meet, and they had an A7S III and an FX3. Both of them were just kind of doing their thing. Those cameras are tried and true, and I was just showing them the footage off the back of my camera in my little, you know, LCD, and yeah, they were quite shocked. First of all, I don't think many people know that you can purchase an RE-Log C3 license for these cameras, and so it gives you Vlog as an option and RE-Log C3. It's nice to have options in 2026. But in general, just the Rec. 709 conversion in the back of the camera is just, it made the footage, if it was up to me and I could find that conversion, which by the way, again, if it's online, please link it down below. I would appreciate you for the rest of my life. I wouldn't feel the need to want to edit any of that image at all. Now, I shot on the dynamic range expansion mode the entire time, or whatever it's called for the S1II, the entire time. I know a lot of people worry about rolling shutter, but unless you're swinging your camera around like you've just had 2 cans of Red Bull, it's not something, in my opinion, that you're really going to see. That being said, this is my take with dynamic range when it comes to video. I think if you expose things correctly, I don't really think you'll have to worry about how much you'll have to push or pull an image to try to get the image that you were looking for. That's just my opinion. If you expose it just right, I typically bring it into DaVinci and just do minor exposure things to try to make it look flatter. That's me in search of that cinematic look. But other than that, I feel like it's just not, I didn't really have to do what I did with photos, which was push it all the way just to get my information from the shadows up or anything like that. Like, didn't have to do much. I think this camera did fantastic. Lastly, autofocus performance. I would say the same thing for photos. Like, it was great. It did everything I needed to do. I missed maybe 1 or 2 videos of the 125 that I took, but in the end of the day, again, do I wish I had my Canon on me? Absolutely not. I had the best IBIS, and combined with 60 FPS, it just looks like you're rocking a gimbal. It's kind of cool. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to the mode dial on the back left part of the Lumix. That thing was something I didn't think I'd ever care about in life, but the entire time I was taking photos, it was easy to switch from photos to RE-Log C3 video, then over to 60 FPS, which was already slowed down in S&Q mode, because then I could just show everyone the video I was hyped to see myself, which was also in RE-Log. Switch back to video, switch back to photo, back forth for almost 5-6 hours. It's one of my new favorite features about this camera. I love the mode dial on this thing. Next, battery life was okay. I traveled in with 3 photos, and I'm sure if I was just doing photography, I probably would have been alright, but because I kept switching back and forth to all these incredible modes, I pretty much used all 3 batteries and had to charge one of them in my car, so I would have said 4 batteries would have been perfect. And lastly, I want to thank this thing. I know it's not going to be sharp because I'm shooting at f1.4 because, you know, it's just low light. It's a different thing. But I didn't have my Shinobi on me because, again, I was not supposed to be doing video like that. I'm supposed to be doing photos. This thing allowed me to just kind of slide this piece into where my flash would go and then just MagSafe my iPhone 17 Pro Max onto the back, plug it in with a USB-C when I wanted a bigger screen because I'm a little old, and boom, I've got a 3000 nit monitor on me that I've already had in my pocket. So yeah, pretty clutch. That's with the Lumix Flow app, by the way, just in case anyone asks. But yeah, all things considered, I think this camera is the one I would call a hybrid camera, right? It's got IBIS for days, like in ways that you really don't, especially combined with 60 FPS, don't really feel like you need a gimbal on you all the time. Don't get me wrong, gimbals are useful when they are, but when you're running gun like I am, it's very nice to have IBIS of this quality, combined with Lumix Flow, which allows you to use the phone in your pocket to just have a monitor with you everywhere you go. The flexibility to film in Vlog or RE-Log C3 if you buy the license, just to have those 2 options with also internal RAW if I wanted to go crazy, and just photo files that are flexible. Yeah, so overall I had a great time with this camera. I think paired up with my Leica, just having both of them together is a sweet combo of a kit. So yeah, overall I love this camera a lot. I'm getting more and more confident with it. It's not something I use. I wasn't using Panasonic before this experience, and now that I am, yeah, I'm starting to fall in love with it more and more every day. Oh, and lastly, shout out to my Sigma adapter. I think it's called the MC something 21, which allows me to pop on my EF glass that I use for my Red Komodo on my Lumix as well. Anyway, that's it for me. I know I can keep going on and on about this camera. Long story short, fantastic buy if you're looking for a solid hybrid for social media purposes and just even YouTube-y stuff. All in all, I love this camera. I think every camera has trade-offs. This one I feel like has the fewest for me. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave it down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.